After close to months of dragging their feet, things are now starting to accelerate in the Ahmaud Arbery case. And joining us now to talk about some of the most recent developments, we have the former director of the Democratic Party of Georgia and a radio talk show host of the Rashad Rashid Morning Show. Rashad, welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you for having me.
Very glad to have you here. Wish we could be talking about something a little bit less dark and tragic, but there have been, as I alluded to, some recent developments. Can you talk to us about those?
Yeah, so the third individual who videotaped, who recorded this massacre, this murder, has now been arrested by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Now, I've said this before, that if you follow the actual Georgia law, he should have been arrested at the scene of the crime. And the individual, they call him Roddy. His full name is William Roddy Bryan Jr., 50 years of age, was the vehicle behind Travis and Gregory McMichael. On the video, you can see Travis McMichael pull the trigger multiple times with his shotgun, and his dad, Gregory McMichael, take aim, obviously just in case his son missed. But it was Roddy, or William Roddy Bryan, who decided to record. And in the police report actually indicates that he was part of a criminal posse in order to trap or to basically illegally detain Ahmaud Arbery. So it was the police report that has been the damning piece of evidence. And the police report was given by way of Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael. They're the ones who said that Roddy Bryan was part of this.
Yeah, so what I'm interested in is, I know that some people responded by saying, well, he's not one of the shooters, but obviously he's there, and people are saying that he helped to sort of box Ahmaud in, scare him as they continue to chase him for multiple minutes. But we also know that it doesn't seem like perhaps much would have happened if the video hadn't come out. Is the idea that perhaps he might have released it to protect himself, to put more of the blame onto the other two? Why do you think he released the video, even though he is now a part of this?
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. As a matter of fact, when his attorney came out and said, we're the ones who leaked this video, they did it in order to protect Roddy Bryan, or William Roddy Bryan, and to potentially exonerate Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael. And I don't know why they thought this would exonerate them in some way. It's insane, but thank God for redneck logic, because only redneck logic would apply here. So they released a clip of this video thinking somehow it did not show a murder, and it did. But Georgia law is very clear. And I find it really ironic that as soon as the statute is contrary to the narrative, the statute is no longer talked about. There's a Georgia statute that says very clearly, if you are in commission of a felony, and in this case, the felony is basically trying to illegally detain a citizen. But if you are in commission of a felony and somebody ends up dying while you're in commission of that felony, it doesn't matter if you pull the trigger or not. You will be charged with felony murder. The GBI got it right, and the local DA got it wrong.
Yeah. I'm curious, as this has been developing, we've also had a number of different stories come out about Ahmaud, like clockwork, as expected, delving into his past, trying to find, did he trespass? Did he shoplift once? Did he not tie his shoes? Like they go through social media and they go through all of this, seemingly to imply at some point that this person no longer deserves your compassion for having been brutally murdered in this way. Are you surprised that once again has been sort of the reaction to this becoming a big case, that you got these sorts of stories coming out?
Hell to the no, I'm not surprised. I knew this was going to come as soon as he was a victim of murder. Why? Because there's a public narrative that suggests somehow blackness deserves to die, or there has to be a reason based on the past of Ahmaud Arbery why Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael pursued him and killed him. Here's the bottom line. All of those instances have absolutely nothing to do with the criminal act that was done against Ahmaud Arbery. It is simply a way to muddy the waters, to create a public relations campaign against the deceased. Let's be very clear. The victim is dead. The victim is 6 feet underground. The ones who killed him are going on trial. not the victim. But we have seen this happen time and time again. And we keep saying that the videos are surfacing as if they're magically appearing.
Yeah.
These videos are not magically appearing. This is an intentional campaign with individuals actually bringing these videos up to the forefront to make themselves look justified. And that's what you see happening. It is sad. It is disgusting, but to be expected.
Yeah, there was one example of that from one of the early videos that came out. I think it was when the possibility that Ahmaud had been at that construction site briefly. I think you lashed out at Candace Owens for sort of implying that, oh, well, this is case closed, that clearly they've got him now because he went to that place. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Candace Owens obviously being insanely ridiculous in her commentary, so much so that even Black Republicans have now disowned her, said that, oh, he's a burglar that went into a property. Well, now we know that there was not a string of burglaries. We also know that when he went to that property, allegedly went into that property, there was no crime committed. Even Larry English, the owner of the property, said no burglary took place. There was no crime committed. There's also current state law. There's current case law, excuse me, that speaks to what a burglary actually is, which means a dwelling place. The word dwelling is legally significant because it means that at least at some point there's an occupant at the property, commercial property or residential property. If there's no occupancy at the property and there's no breaking of a seal, like a window or a door, then the crime of burglary cannot be committed,
Yes.
which means that there was no way a felony was committed in the presence or even outside of the presence of anyone, which also means by connection, there was no justification to track down Ahmaud Arbery, commit to a citizen's arrest, and kill him in the process.
Yeah, and even if he had committed crimes at that site, there'd be no justification whatsoever for the brutal murder that they clearly had been planning for, the fact that they brought the guns at all. Actually, and somewhat related to that, I'm not sure if you were familiar with yesterday, Sean King, he tweeted about the fact that some sort of neighborhood text messages had been leaked to him, that there had been this communication going on in the area, sort of implying that something needed to be done. I haven't seen the actual messages yet, so I don't know exactly what they'll show, but it makes me wonder if possibly more people might end up being drawn into this, if other people had been sort of goading these individuals to track down and, you know, assault the person that they thought was responsible. Do you think that there's any likelihood of that?
I think there is a likelihood. And remember, there was a Glynn County police officer who sent a text message to the owner of the property in question, Larry English, who lives 2 hours away from Glynn County. And in that text message, this cop basically deputizes Gregory McMichael, someone who is not post-certified as a cop, someone who is no longer a cop, someone who does not have arrest powers. So this cop decided to de facto deputize Gregory McMichael and say, hey, if you have any problems, you call Gregory McMichael. He didn't say call 911. Yeah. He didn't say call the police. He said call Gregory McMichael. And there's this sense of a neighborhood mob almost being created because of this. And I think you're right. There's a level of premeditation here because even in the police report, according to Gregory McMichael's words, he simply yelled to his son. He's running down the street and they grabbed guns, got in the pickup truck, and they started to pursue him. Well, if I tell somebody he's running down the street and everybody knows what to do, that means we planned it. That's premeditated.
That's true. And, you know, while this is the case that we're talking about, it is tragically not the only case of its sort that we'll likely to see even in that area, even around this time. And I know that you, as the editor-at-large of Rolling Out Magazine, you're planning to help to spotlight more cases like this. What are you hoping that campaign might accomplish?
Man, we already have about 20 cases that we're looking at right now. But basically, the state of Georgia has been riddled over the last few decades with suspicious murders of unarmed Black men and Black women that have gone unresolved or not prosecuted by the local authorities. We are now going to look into those extrajudicial killings and expose them. Rolling Out Magazine has a readership monthly of 2.2 million, a combined social media following of roughly 400,000. So we're able to get a message out to the forefront. And what we've seen in this case is how the media is effective and how the media can impact a story being told the right way. And that's what we plan to do. And we're partnering with organizations like the local NAACP and others to bring those stories to the forefront.
Well, that is certainly a laudable goal, and I hope that people pay attention to it. Rashad Ritchie, thank you so much for joining us and breaking down this really important case.
Thanks for having me.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.